Hello, everybody. It is 8:55 p.m. Central Time on the 25th of February, 2021. It's Thursday night here in the United States. It has been 7 days since I recorded my last update. Over the last week, though, I have done live updates on Twitch every few days. Last week was just the worst week. Miss Wednesday, our beloved kitty, had passed away, and then I got sick on top of everything else, and the coldest time of the year to top it all off. Man, what a week, but now we are here to talk about seismic events. So let's get a display capture turned on, and we're looking at about 48 hours worth of earthquakes right now. USGS and EMSC out of Europe doing the reporting. And when you look around the planet, you're going to see a pretty even distribution of 4s and 5s spreading out across the Pacific in particular. Now, this past week, tonight is day 7 of our 7-day watch, but really it's a 7 to 10-day watch. But 7 days we're watching for a large earthquake right here, and we have not seen anything since my last update, large earthquake-wise. The highest we've gone is into the 5-ish range, and again, the spread is pretty obvious. Let's get into it. So first, we're going to be referencing this map from the USGS showing all the red lines around the planet. These are the plate boundaries. We have to remember and reference this a lot because that's the way the seismic energy transfers out from these areas where we have our deep earthquakes that are raised high off the globe. So like a hammering action coming in on the underside of the plate, I show this all the time, I'll show it again right now. What I think's going on down below the plates is something like this. But it's over hundreds, if not thousands of miles, where the waves focus in on each other in what's called a singularity or a spike across a spherical surface. And that gets us back to the earthquakes that are hammering in on the underside of the plate. So spreading out from where the earthquakes are hammering in on the underside of the plate, we then see an equal or somewhat equal distribution like a standing wave in a tank, starting to build as a small wave first. You can barely see it in this right here, this laboratory tank, but move it forward just a little bit as they pump it full of energy as they move these walls back and forth. That puts more amplitude or power, or you could say even magnitude, into this, and you see the waves start to organize and spread. Well, that organization and spread takes place seismically, and so we get a 5.2 to 5.3 on one side over here where our X's are, and we get a 5.2 to 5.3 on the other side near where our X's are. And the area in between up to the north, we get a 5 and a 5.1, and over to the west, we get a 5 and a 5.0. That's right. So 5 and 5.1 to the north, 5.3 and 5.2 to the south. Let's go compare. To the north, to the south, and to the east. Again, it's a spread, but it's thousands and thousands of miles apart. Now that spread is taking place across the plate boundary, and same thing's going on over to the west. So we have a 5.2 and a 5.1. The 5.2 is right where Indonesia meets into Philippines. The 5.1 up here right north of Guam. Tiny island of Guam is right here. It literally is just north of the island. But 5.2, 5.1, hold on, that's just like what we were just talking about down here. South of Australia, but this time we're on the north side of Australia going up towards Japan. Now, let's just compare again, because look what's on the north side of Australia going up towards Japan. The red lines again, and the earthquake striking just north of Guam. And the other earthquake right where the plate boundaries meet, going Indonesia into Philippines. So really what's going on here is the spread's going down over to the east, all the way out to the middle South Pacific, and going all the way to the west to the South Indo-Australian plate boundary. It's also going around Australia to the north, right to where the plate boundaries meet in Indonesia, Philippines, and spreading across the Izu Ridge up this far, as far north as Guam. That's what's happened in the last 48 hours. Now, going over to the west, we have another 5, a 4.9, and we have another 5, 4.9, and we have another 5, another 4.9. So let's just call that 3 5s. And then what does that do? That fills in our open area on the western side. You see where the 5.1 is over here at Guam. We just got done talking about it. over here. But over here on the western side, you see where the plate boundaries meet, there's also a 5. So we have 5s on both sides, and they're somewhat equally spaced across this, and this is somewhat regular. We watch for that to happen, almost the same sized earthquake strike on both sides as energy spreading around both bends. It's like a river that forks and then comes back together up here in Japan. And if that stands, we should see a new earthquake right where the 2 plate boundaries come back together in Japan, which just saw the 7.0 earthquake up here on the coast of Fukushima. But you see where this letter H-shaped bend is that should be struck with a new earthquake going into Tokyo, and it should be about the combined total coming up from the south. So if we have a 5.2, a 5.1, and a 4.9, well, or a 5, add those together, that equals about a 5.3 to 5.4. So that means something is coming into where the plate boundaries converge. That's from, again, south-central Japan up here to Tokyo. Just as an example of something to watch for in the next few days. We shouldn't be shocked by that. But what you might be shocked by is the additional 4.9 up here on the north side of Japan. Again, we're starting to it's getting a little wild, right? Kuril Islands. So, like bookends, 4.9 and 4.9. Again, thousands of miles across. And what's right in the middle? Let's go back and show you again. Right in the middle is where the plate boundaries converge. So we got a 4.9 up here, got a 4.9 down here, and in between is where we're going to watch for the new earthquake to break. What else is going on? Well, like I said, 4.9's everywhere. We got a 4.9 and a 4.5 right here. That's on the plate boundary going into Myanmar. And they still have the earthquake marked on here. Now look at the distribution on this. From here at Sumatra, Indonesia, up here to Myanmar, over here to the Afghanistan border. Following the red lines again, but we're, again, thousands of miles apart. But if you go and straighten this out or follow these around the bends, it's pretty much an equal distribution. The equal distribution, again, I think is a standing wave. A standing wave of VLF or ultra-low frequency of some kind that's spreading out thousands of miles where the wave peak is maybe a few hundred miles across at the top or at the bottom of the wave as it spreads across thousands of miles of distance. And it's being generated by that hammering action, more like a bass drum on the underside of the plate. Again, that hammering action coming in from deep down below in the mantle, coming up through the asthenosphere, and then going into the underside of the plate. The asthenosphere is just the complex word for the underside of the plates, where there's a more plasticky, not exactly melted. Now look at this, another 4.9, all the way over here going into Iran. And we're going to get into that. Again, let's just call them all 5s. That's really what it is. It's a spread of 5s going all the way across into Iran. And a lot of people messaging me about what's going on in Africa. Also the Gulf of Aden. This is south. This is the Gulf of Aden up here, just south of Saudi Arabia and Yemen. And then down here in Africa. But again, it's a 4.5, a mid-range 4, and it's about the same size going down into Africa. If you take the 4.4 plus the 4.1, you get 4.51. At least the way we add the magnitudes here on this channel. So we have a 4.5 down here, and we got a 4.5 up here. What do the two have in common? Well, first of all, they're on the red line arrows, right? But let's go over and show you the plate boundary map. Look. Again, here's Yemen, Gulf of Aden, earthquake up here. USGS doesn't have it. It's technically from yesterday. And then down here at the Democratic Republic of Congo and Tanzania. But again, USGS doesn't have anything on the African side, but up here to the north in the Gulf of Aden, they sure do. Look in the Gulf of Aden, the red line again. Why do I have arrows that branch off that and go down into Africa? Well, that's what we see earthquakes do. So the arrows are just where we see earthquakes and which way they normally go. Now, they normally follow the red lines that I've been showing you on the USGS map, which are the plate boundaries. But once we get into the middle of a plate, the earthquakes tend to follow the craton edges, the interior portions of the plates themselves. Hence the red line. And if we go over on Google Earth and take a look in South and Central Africa, you see there's a bunch of volcanoes marked across this area, while the USGS doesn't have anything there at all. Now, it's a rift or a fold or a bend. There's some talk that it's a spread or it's tearing and it's going to connect with the ocean at some point. That was just in articles in the past few months. I think it's a bend or a fold, personally. But again, the articles say that it's a tear and it's going to eventually form into ocean. Whatever. There's a bunch of volcanoes that mark a line, and that line is marked with the volcanoes, but we have an arrow there because that's the way the seismic flow takes place. So what am I getting at? It's 4.5 worth of energy going up into the Gulf of Aden, 4.5 worth of energy going down here, down into Africa, and we can trace it back to up here where we have 4.5 and 4.9 going up into Myanmar, and we have a 4.9 up here in Iran. Again, let's go back to that red line map from the USGS and just really show you what's going on here. In other words, all of this going over to Iran, down to Africa, back down around Australia, and as far out as the Central Pacific. This is the Indo-Australian plate. India, Australia, Indo-Australia. Let me make sure you guys can see all this. And around it is where all the seismic is going on. So we just talked about a spread going up here to the Izu Ridge and going up here to Philippines. We talked about a spread going down around out to the far south central mid-Pacific and going south into the Indo-Australian plate boundary with Antarctica, southwest of Australia. A line of earthquakes going out to the Middle East and a line of earthquakes going all the way over to the Democratic Republic of Congo. This has something going on down below it, and we are watching, or were watching up until today, basically. Well, technically we still have 2 more days, but 7 days is today. We're watching for that near 8.0 activity to break out on the edge of the Indo-Australian plate, right around where all the hammering action was taking place, with all the deep earthquakes. Well, we're right up to the last few days, and now we have a spread going all the way around it. Again, you can see it. If you know what to look for, you can see the earthquakes are equally spaced across the entire distance going out and spreading now out to the other plate. So again, it's spreading up towards Japan, and it's spreading out towards Europe, over to Iran. This whole thing has a big stress down below it, but it's going up this way and over this way so far. And that's where we are now. Now, Europe started to pick up, and we saw a spread go across Turkey, all in the same magnitude. So here, let me get all the smaller earthquakes out of there and just look at the 4s and greater. Check this out. So look where the earthquake is in Turkey, and look where the earthquake is in the Aegean Sea. So Turkey, Aegean Sea, 4.1s, both. And we're looking at everything 3.9 and greater, so you can see it, right? And then another 4.1 up in Poland. And in between all of them, a 4.3. Now guess what? If you take the 4.1 plus the 4.1, here, let's wait for this to refresh. There we go. Take this 4.1 in Poland plus this 4.1 down at the Aegean Sea. That equals 4.21. And then you add in the third 4.1, we're at 4.32. In other words, it's the same spread, but in the middle, that's where the biggest bunch is. Think of this like a splash in a pool, where the biggest splash is in the middle, and the same size ring spread out away from it. And it's about the same distance. It really is. If you go around the outside edge of Europe, where we have our red arrow, that's the European craton. Now, what do the two 4.1s down Turkey and the Aegean Sea have in common? Take a look. One earthquake over here in Turkey, 4.1. The other one down here at the edge of the Aegean Sea. Do you see it? The red line, of course. The red line is the plate boundary, and that's the same distribution going across the Mediterranean. Notice the USGS, by the way, doesn't have anything in Eastern Europe at all, right? So why do we have an S-shaped bend with an arrow there on our map? We'll go over to Google Earth and take a look. Look at the topography of Europe. Do you see it? The S-shaped bend in Eastern Europe, those are mountain ranges covered in trees, but that's also the edge of the craton. That's why there are mountain ranges there. It's a fold and bend in the plate, or many folds and bends in the plate. Now, at each S-shaped bend, or each curve, we have a mountain range that's made up of volcanoes. So, not exaggerating that either. It goes around, up, over again, and down again. And there's a volcanic chain somewhat equally spaced all the way along the interior edge of the craton going across Europe. Isn't that amazing? That's why we have an arrow there. And guess what? The earthquakes go that direction. So we have a spread starting with a 5 over here on the plate boundary in Iran. Then it goes down to 4s, but this 4 spread goes all the way across Europe with a 4.3 right in the middle, and that's right in Bosnia going into Montenegro. So 4.3 in the middle there. Check them off the list, by the way. We warned Croatia to Bosnia this week. We also warned over at Romania, and we warned Poland. Down here, or that was last week, well, 7 days ago. Here we are on day 7, and it finally hit, right? 4.7 striking down here in North Algeria. Let's go back over to the map. Look what's in North Algeria. The red line again. So we got a 4.9 coming in out of Iran. A spread of 4s going across all of South Europe, with the biggest movement in the middle, right where the two plate boundaries join. And then going over to the west, it's about the same size, 4.7 to 4.9. So you put a 4.9 in, you get a 4.7 coming out, going over across to the west. That's not that much loss of energy, is it? But then again, the wave tank we're talking about is just like this laboratory wave tank, but it's spreading across thousands of miles on the plate boundaries. Okay, now, Iceland, check it out. Iceland finally got hit, and it's right next to X marks the spot. No volcanic eruptions going on, but look where the cluster is. Going up as high as 5.6 and a bunch of 4s. Let's go back to the red line map again. Boom. Right there, right on the edge of the plate boundary. Now, you got to remember what happened this past week, as I was not really around, but we watched earthquakes go across France, go across Scotland, the North Sea. Iceland got hit. So first, the spread went across France and the UK, going up into Scotland. But then finally, it broke out on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the plate boundary. Okay, so recapping, a spread of the same sized earthquakes going out across a huge region. Again, how far do you think that is? Going from our letter X's all the way down here in the middle South Pacific, going all the way back up here to the Izu Ridge, going further all the way up into the Kuril Islands, and going back across into Europe and the Middle East. Look at the spread. Again, we're looking at 3.9 and greater. So the equal distribution, even to the untrained eye, I'm not doing anything with the rings or anything. We can even turn the rings off. You should still be able to see the somewhat equal distribution going on here around the entire planet of the same sized activity. Now, if we take it down to 2s and 3s, you'll just see that the 2s and 3s connect in between our 4s. It's amazing. Now, jump across over into Central and South America. And the same thing's going on, but it's a magnitude less. So while we're dealing with spreads of 4s and 5s over here right now in the West Pacific, over here in the East Pacific, we're dealing with 3s and 4s. But it's doing the same thing. That equal distribution again. But the equal distribution's happening across Central America, for instance. Let me show it to you this way. Here is Central America, the equal distribution going on from Central Mexico, down across South Mexico, down into Costa Rica. There we are. And again, we're like bookends, 3.4 and 3.1 on either end, with the biggest activity in the middle, that, again, splash in the pond, and the distribution spreading out across the red line, which is the plate boundary. So what caused that? Well, we go back a few days. Let's go back to the start of the week, for instance. Let's wait for this to refresh. There we go. Okay, start of the week. And that's where our biggest activity was, again, just like a splash in the pond. And it was 5 in the middle and 4s on the outside edges. And you can still see those. Again, 4 on the outside edge, 4.6, 4.8 on one side, and up to the north, 4.5, 4.6. Or no, 4.0 and 4.5. Same thing happened in South America, and it focused in on Chile. Chile really started to move. I saw a lot of people commenting about it, talking about it. Every time it started to move up here, they're like, is that it? You know, going red on the spectros. We have a new deep earthquake down below Argentina, here raised high off the globe. Next to it, all along the coast of Chile, going up into South Peru. But let's just go back 2 days. There we are. We got that 5 in the middle of Peru, filling in that open area. Again, the distribution's almost perfect, but to see it, let me get all the smaller earthquakes out of here. So just like Central America, with the 5 in the middle and the 4s on the outside, that's what we've got down in South America and Peru. 5 in the middle, 4 up to the north, 4.5 up to the north, 4.5 down to the south. Then it really spreads, and each halfway point is filled in between its halfway points. So we have halfway points, and then the halfway points of the halfway points, which I guess are quarter points, right? And then the halfway points of the halfway points of the halfway points, I guess those are 1/8 points. They're all filled in. And to even see it, it looks like a jumbled mess, but let me turn down the rings. You might be able to see this a little bit better. So the color coding on this, the oldest earthquakes are in dark red, the lightest earthquakes are in white. So it's trying to fill in that open area, the latest earthquake striking right here and right here. Previously, they struck here, the lightish color red, and then the darkish color red started about 4 or 5 days ago. So it's just a magnitude under what we were looking for so far, and I guess that's good. It's a magnitude everywhere under, except for the 8 that didn't hit. Now, look at this, too. This is another way to look at it. That going around the entire southern hemisphere, following the plate boundaries all the way around Antarctica. You might get dizzy if you look at the screen. You are now feeling sleepy. Okay, anyway, check it out. 5.2 here, where the X is, or right next to it. 5.2 here, right next to where the X is. 5.1 south of New Zealand, north of where the X is. 5.3 over here, again, next to where the X is. So wouldn't you say, if you look at it that way, of course, it's all the way around Antarctica, but if we go back to the plate boundary map on their 2D wonder map here, flat Earth times 20. Okay, anyway, going around the outside edge of the plate boundary around Antarctica, that's what's going on. It's an equal distribution, but what is the distance? It's the whole planet. Wouldn't you say there's only one spot that needs to be filled in over here for there to really be a full spread all the way around the entire planet, all on the same magnitude? But the way I look at this, a professional might say, well, those are just 5s. But I would say, hey, this is 48 hours. And hey, how much energy do you think it would take to displace the entire plate boundary around the outside edge of Antarctica in 2 days' time, all on the same magnitude basis, within just a hair of a point of one another, all the way around it? It would take a lot of energy. A lot. So where's it coming from, right? Well, we can trace it back over to here, where this is the Indo-Australian plate, and the Indo-Australian plate is the one that's really moving. This thing, Indo-Australian. And then around the outside edge, again, this is spread out on a flat map, but you just got to imagine this going all the way around the Earth, that it's compensating around to the south. Now, I would think that would lead to a large earthquake on the edge of the Indo-Australian plate that's displacing all of Antarctica right now. That's what I would think. But we're in uncharted waters. I do not recall ever having to talk about all of Antarctica being displaced. There's been times where there's a few earthquakes around the outside edge, but to have them all the way around the outside edge, I don't recall that ever happening. So something is displacing, and we know where it's displacing from. It's displacing from here. It's displacing as far north as Japan with its 7.3 earthquake last week. It's as far east as South America, where the 7s hit down here 2 weeks ago. And the only thing standing left to break is a new quake next to the spot that's causing it all. Yes, that is the Dutch Sins logo sandwiched in between it all. It's my underwater base. It rises out of the ocean like a James Bond villain lair. But we just come up to take a peek. I look around like, it's like the groundhog, actually. I come up, I get scared of my shadow, and I go right back under the ocean for another 100 years. Okay. Now, Eastern Caribbean. We have a stack of 2s and 3s going across, but this is low compared to where we were over the past week. The past week, we went up into the forest range, and it actually struck at Dominican Republic. Now, we know where that came from. That came from the previous push that happened last week. The previous push that went across the red lines again. Red lines again, USGS map again. The only thing that didn't happen last week, and I already talked about this 7 days ago, was, 2 weeks ago. We were looking for an earthquake to strike here at the Stair-Step Bend next to Cayman Islands, and instead it struck over here, over in Dominican Republic. And that's the earthquake we're looking at here. So last week was a strikeout. It adjusted over to the east, but look where all the rings overlap. They do overlap on the Cayman Islands. But I think energy is transferring across it right now. Famous last words. Mid-Atlantic Ridge also got hit at the start of the week. I didn't get to talk about that, but X marks the spot, struck by... Are you shocked? The same sized earthquake that struck down here, 5.1 to 5.2. Our X's, whether they're thousands of miles apart or not, doesn't matter. They're getting hit. And the reason they're getting hit out on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, the 5.2, struck right out here. Why did it strike out there on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge? Well, a push came across last week. It was in the 5-ish range, went up around Colombia and Venezuela, went across over through Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. It was near 5 last week. They took it to 4.9, right? Well, here we are. Here's a 5.1 that struck out at the X. Again, that's like 5 days ago at this point. I've just been gone for 7 days. Technically, haven't recorded a video in 7 days, so I've got to talk about that. And like I said, down here to the south, same-sized earthquake on the edge of the X on the South Sandwich Islands. Check it off the list. We were looking for up to 6 point something, and we got 5 point something. So I'll take it, but that's a magnitude less as well in South America. So far, it's a magnitude less across the board, but the whole planet's moving. So I don't know if we should think of that as more or less. I guess it would be more, with the whole planet moving on a 5-ish basis instead of just a few 6s and 7s or a big earthquake. The big earthquake would be coming still. The big earthquake would be on the schedule then very soon. And the spread that's happening is the planet trying to compensate. And once the planet gets saturated, think of this like a sponge getting filled. And once it gets saturated, it starts to overflow. And that could be the same analogy we could use for the plates trying to absorb this energy. I mean, look, again, it's the plates trying to absorb the energy all the way around Antarctica. It's trying to absorb the energy all the way over into Europe. And it's trying to absorb the energy all the way into South America. Oh, knock on wood. A 3.9 earthquake just struck in South America at 531 kilometers deep, down below Argentina. Again, a second deep earthquake. So a new deep quake just struck there. Again, it's 500 kilometers, several hundred miles down below the plate. Now, Alaska, United States, Canada, Hawaii. Well, let's just talk about Alaska really quick. The spread of earthquakes all in the 4 range, going up to the border with Canada. Let's get all the smallers out of there and just look. There we go. 4, 4.2. Now look off the coast of the United States a few days ago. 4.5 and a 5.1. Well, or 4.9. It depends on who you go with. But there it is. So we've got our spread going right down across Alaska, going on to the coast or right next to the coast of the United States. We were a magnitude under in the United States as well. So I was looking for 6 to 6.5, and 5 came rolling in. Again, that's a full magnitude under. Across the board, all the way around the Pacific, full magnitude under. Where did the missing magnitudes worth of energy go? I think that's what's spreading around the entire planet. Kind of in an unheard of basis that we've only seen a spread go around the planet maybe twice. And that was with deep 8.0 activity 3 years ago in 2018. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. 4s are going across Alaska. Let's show you where they are. Again, it's just like the rest of the planet, guys. It's following the red lines of the plate boundary here on the USGS map, going up into Alaska, down off the coast of the United States. Look what's off the coast of the U.S. The Cascadia subduction zone along the coast, and the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. The jagged edges belong to the Pacific plate. So just think of these jagged edges like saw teeth jagging into the North American plate. And that's exactly what's going on with the seismic activity as it comes in from out in the ocean and then transfers in on land. Look at the last 7 days of, here, let's get them all on here. 0.0 and greater last 7 days. It's kind of slowing down Earthquake 3D a little bit. We've got 2,000 on the feed right now, but let's just turn down the rings a little bit. And we'll turn off the magnitudes as well. Just remember the ring size equal the size of the quake. And we have a 5 off the coast. 3s on land going over as far east as Yellowstone. 2s going all the way down across into Texas. Another 4 in the middle of the plate right in Oklahoma. And then going up the East Coast. Now this trajectory of quakes coming out of the northwest, making a diagonal line across Colorado, going down through Texas, back up to Oklahoma, and then back up the East Coast, matches the Craton diagram that I've been showing you for years. And that's the way the seismic activity flows. It goes down across through Texas, back up the East Coast. And we got a new 4 right in the middle of the plate in Oklahoma, right at the Oklahoma-Kansas border. So really, it's been a spread going across the middle of the Craton, going down across into Central America, but it's all the way across the planet now. It's reached into the United States, coming in from the northwest, with the biggest of the bunch, again, being in the middle. But the middle of this is the middle of the whole Craton diagram here, or the whole Craton edge. It's wild to see that. Now, Finally, let's turn the magnitudes back on, and let's look at the last 24 hours worth of 0.0 and greater earthquakes in the United States. Now that you've just seen what's happened over the past several days, a push has come over to the Midwest as far east as Oklahoma. Now, we issued a warning for the Bay Area. Nothing. But then again, this past week, I shouldn't say nothing. Hold on. Before I say nothing happened, in the last 24 hours, we do have a significant outbreak going up into the 3 range, and it's right next to where we warned. But I warned for up to 5. So it's a full magnitude under as well. Let's get into it. Where the earthquake struck today, this is 24 hours worth of activity. Virginia, 2.0. Edge of the Craton. Right on it. Edge of the Craton at the Virginia-North Carolina border region. Same with down in Texas, edge of the Craton. Drill points, though, in Texas, nobody should be shocked at that. Same with in Oklahoma. These are all drill points. Every single earthquake in Oklahoma and in Texas directly at drill points. Once we get into, and do you need me to show those to you? If you're a new viewer, you might be mind blown. You know, I mean, there's people who are in denial about these things. Here, let's just go over here right on the arrow, and I'll pull one, and you guys can go look up the rest if you need to. As a matter of fact, you should, if you're a new viewer, homework assignment tonight. Let me get a sip of my drink here. Drinking a little grape juice. Good stuff, man. So, here we are. Nearest drill point is right here where the tank, the pump, the jack is. Actually, there's just a tank and a pump there. There we are. Well, we have a microwave tower right there, cell phone tower. But there's more drill points. They're all over the place here. All these little pads that are set out into the backcountry here. Here, this actually has the shadow of the oil well. So oil or gas, definitely. And then we go down to the south and you see all these little pads out in the backcountry. That's not clear cut for forestry. These are all more oil, gas drill points. Now, nobody should be shocked by this because, again, we're talking about Oklahoma that has 500,000 or more different drill points across the state. So that's just the selection I gave you. You can go look up the rest going up into Kansas, all drill points. Same within Texas. Texas is known for it, so we shouldn't be shocked at Texas either, really. If you're a new viewer, just go look up Texas oil. Up in Utah, though, most people don't think about it. These here and here and this over to the west are all centered around drill points as well, but I usually need to show those because a lot of people just don't know about them. And again, I wouldn't ask you to believe me. I'm online. Believing anybody online is a challenge. I wouldn't ask you that. That's why I show you. I'm from the Show Me State, Missouri, where we show everything. It's our state motto. If you don't show it, you're full of crap. Here's the earthquake epicenter, and right next to it, again, all these different drill points. And this has got a good shadow of the jack or pump, so you can really make out on what it is, oil and gas. And all of these go up across the mountain range and come over on the other side of the mountain range. And I'm not exaggerating. This whole mountain range has been drilled. So let me just show you. Do you see all the little pads in the ground here? Again, that's not for forestry clear cut. Every one of these is oil and gas. And it goes on and on and on across this mountain range and goes down into the valley where it starts to look like a grid on the ground where all of these. So it just goes through the whole valley here. The whole valley has been drilled. Again, every one of these little sand dune looking locations is a different oil well. And it just goes right across over to here. Keeps going and going. You go, why am I taking the time to show that to you? A bunch of earthquakes strike around here. They go all the way around the edge of this basin, and that's where all the drill points are. There, here, back over to the west. The only spot that's not really at a drill point in Utah is at Milford, Utah, which is next to a volcanic field. But it's a punch point. So humans punched in from up above with all those drill points for oil and gas, and then we go down here to southwest Utah, and Mother Nature is punched up from underneath at these volcanic fields. Cinder Crater Volcano, Mineral Mountains Cove Fort from the Pleistocene from a long time ago. Cinder Crater, let's go take a look at it. Well, okay. Oh, it's being mined on the side. Yeah, you can see the cinders being mined out the side of there. That's pretty cool. Mineral Mountains, Cove Fort, Volcanic Field. And here's Crater Knoll. Oh, cool. Pretty cool. And Basalt Fissure. Interesting. All right, all three volcanic features. We got earthquakes swarming out right up at the surface, right next to it. It doesn't mean it's going to erupt. It's getting hit for the same reason the oil wells are getting hit. And the oil wells are getting hit for the same reason the earthquakes are going across the edge of the craton. The plate's being displaced. And the plate has been being displaced from a slow slip or something like it, ETS, an episodic tremor slip where the plate starts vibrating and shifting up here in the northwest. We have earthquakes out in the ocean, 4s and 5s. We have on land what was taking place, an ETS. And I have not checked the tremors in the past few days, but you know what? Let's just go over and take a quick look. Why not? We have 79 tremors as of today, and look where they are. They're in southwest Oregon. But I'm going to turn on a feature here. Let's turn on the imagery. Longtime viewers already know all this, so this is just for new people. Like a giant arrow pointing in to the spot that's shifting or vibrating. Now, these have magnitudes assigned to them, but these are vibrations, not really breaks in the plate. We have 79 of them, which is an increase from where we were, which was next to nothing. But we were at hundreds per day a couple weeks ago. Here's 10 on the 21st, for instance. 0 on the 22nd. 136 down in southwest Oregon. Right like a giant arrow pointing into where it's shifting. That's on the 23rd. 24th, nothing. 25th into the 26th, that's where we are now. Now, I want to go back and compare. Look at the red line here, pointing in like an arrow to the spot that's shifting on land. Got to remember, out here, 5.0 and 4.0 activity on the jagged sawtooth edges of the Pacific Plate. Pacific Plate in motion, you can trace it back across Alaska, back to Japan, back to the West Pacific, to the Indo-Australian Plate, which itself is displacing all of Antarctica, going over all the way over into Europe, and going over into South America. So something's building, it's spreading out across the plates. It reached the United States, and it went in as far as Oklahoma this week. How about that? And we know where it came from. It came in as the plate shifted. So Oklahoma got a 4 because the plate shifted. For the same reason, we got 4s and 5s out in the ocean. The only thing missing is the Bay Area getting a new 5.0 or near 5.0 earthquake. That's what we forecast for, and nothing hit. Instead, look what's going on. Do you see this? Look what happened today. A big outbreak, but the size, I guess, so we could call these the magnitudes or the amplitude behind it, are low. Think of this like a low snare drum. It's rolling really fast, but it's low. They're not hitting it very hard. And this spot where the low snare drum is rolling is the geysers of California. And the geysers of California, Clear Lake Volcanic Field, has been drilled. And they drilled it to get steam to turn turbines. Let me show you the earthquake's swarm location is here on the hillside. And right there, look, they've got a little pipeline and a drill point, and the drill point takes the steam up to the turbines, and we're getting power generated from there big time, and the turbines are all over the hillsides here. And there's the volcanic field, or the edge of it, and that's where they drilled in. And that's where the swarm is. So we're swarming there now. Now, just to the south, right in the middle, you see how the two earthquakes, we've got an earthquake south of the Bay Area, and we have the swarm on the north side of the Bay Area. Wouldn't you say the halfway point is the Bay Area between these two? I mean, quite literally going right across the bay, maybe on the north side of the bay, Napa Valley. That's where the warning is. It expires tonight. 7-day warning expires tonight. Nothing's hit. I don't know what's going on. I'm waiting. I mean, we'll just say it has expired because it's 9:34 p.m. Central Time now. It is expired. So nothing hit. But now we're swarming. Okay, so, I mean, that's the way it goes. You issue a 7-day warning and it doesn't hit. That's a miss. But if it hits tomorrow, I will say that's the earthquake, obviously. I won't call it an earthquake forecast hit, but that's what's going on. We're swarming down on the plate boundary. By the way, one more time, plate boundary map, red line, not one more time. We're going to look at it a few more times. The red line comes into Northern California and goes down through the Bay Area. The red line is the San Andreas. But it's also the plate boundary. And look where it connects to. Like a giant funnel, it goes into the southern arm of the Juan de Fuca fracture zone. And guess what? The earthquakes follow that and follow the creeping section, quote unquote, of the San Andreas right across through here. The red line starts to shift and move. This starts to shift and move. The San Andreas, as this pumps energy into it. And it pumps energy into the whole plate, going across the edge of the Great Town, of course, all the way up to the East Coast. This happens in a few days' time, and so we're not talking geologic processes in millions of years. We're talking a few days or less. This all takes place. So the earthquakes are going down across the coast, and they dead end here at a place called Parkfield, California. The earthquake capital of the world, they call themselves. Got some merch sent to me by a viewer who lives by here. Might even live there. It's a tiny little town. It's on the San Andreas directly. Again, the earthquakes are coming down the coast and stopping right about here. Well, not stopping. Puttering out right about here. And they jump over into the valley and then down to the south tip of the valley. Let me show you what's right next to this. Of course, the San Andreas is right here. You can see it in the mountain range. It's diagonally shaped. But right next to it, right across this little mountain range, maybe about 3 to 5 miles over to the east, right across here, all of this is drilled. Oil and gas. You see all the oil wells and pipelines. And it just goes on and on and on for miles. And they drilled the heck out of this right up to the edge of the San Andreas. Again, this is the San Andreas right here. And there's the drill point. So the earthquakes come down the San Andreas, and where the drill points start, seems like it sucks the energy in to the drill points. And then down to the south, where the drill points kind of stop, down in the south tip of the valley, that's where the earthquakes pick back up. It's like maybe a subway for the seismic energy to go through. A series of perforations. And there are so many, I'm not exaggerating when I tell you there's so many. This is the San Andreas, and we go right down here, and they have drilled literally all along it, tens of thousands of times. Every one of these is an oil well. And it goes down to the south. It gets into what I call insane overdrive. And I don't know if it's wise to drill this much right up to the San Andreas. All these are drilled. And the earthquakes go down and then pick up where those drill points end. That's what you're looking at here now in the last 24 hours. That's where these two are striking down on the Garlock. Now, the California-Nevada border, these are all volcanoes. All the way along through here. So, volcano, volcano, over to the east volcano, up to the north volcano. Actually, I need to go check up to the north. But down to the south, same thing. Volcanic field here, volcanic field here. And then we get down to Southern California, which we'll talk about in a minute, not really volcanoes. So, but everything here in the center, volcanic. And I can prove that. We can just pull the coordinates at the middle of each location and show you what's there. The name speaks for itself. Mammoth Lakes. Mammoth Lakes. Mammoth Mountain. It's a volcano at the edge of a supervolcano. So there's really two volcanoes here. There we go. Here is the greater caldera for Long Valley Supervolcano. 1,000 cubic kilometers of melt down below. And then on the edge of Long Valley, we have a pronounced volcano up on the top edge. And it's a ski resort. Mammoth Mountain. And on the backside of Mammoth Mountain itself, there are smaller cinders where smaller eruptions have taken place in the past. And that's where the earthquakes are right in the middle and spreading out, again, right here, over to the west, and over to the east. And make note, magnitudes 1.4, 1.3, like bookends. And in the middle, the bigger earthquake. Again, that splashing effect of where the bigger impact is in the middle, and then the spread goes out across equally. Okay, that's where we start. Now go across the border, and this big stack of quakes, let's go pull the largest of the bunch right in the middle. What is it, a 3.3? Okay. Again, the largest of the bunch is right in the middle. We shouldn't be shocked by that. It's a volcanic field, what I'm getting ready to show you. So we're jumping from the supervolcano, and look where oh, wait a second. Hold up. Everybody. Hey now, look. Do you see these red dots on the screen? I haven't talked about them in the whole update. I've talked about them in previous updates. These are what are called hotspots, what we call hotspots. The satellite, GOES satellite, is picking up some kind of odd heat signature. And then it either filters them out so the public can't see it, or it will show them on the actual weather feed when you're looking at shortwave infrared fire view or thermal view. And it'll show it as a fire. Now, we got a problem with there being fires right here. When we zoom in, look, I think you'll be able to tell why it would maybe be a problem that we would have some kind of giant fire detected in a ring inside of this. But this is where a 6.5 earthquake struck last year. A surface fissure fracture formed going from Monte Cristo Hills Volcanic Center 12 miles across. And then we had another large earthquake strike over here where these old quarries are. And it looks like these haven't been used in a while. You can see how the walls have collapsed and all that good stuff. But I need to click on a few of these and just see if they've been filtered. They look like they have. Yeah. The computer doesn't know what to make of them. It's marking them as 64,000 degrees. We know it's not that. Something's going on there. It's one of the only spots where there's any clusters of hotspots. There's one up to the north, up here, at Fisher Ridge. At Black Hills and Fisher Ridge, there's a hot spot. So something's going on. Oh, look at California. Both sides of the valley down here. Death Valley. Both sides of Death Valley. Hot spots in the middle of the winter. And a bunch of earthquakes breaking out there now. Wow, okay, well, I'm glad I looked. When I catch something in real time, I got to show it to you. Over to the east, we have the volcanic field getting hit here in Utah. We have the oil pumping operations getting hit across Utah. We have the oil pumping operations getting hit down in Texas. And we have the line of quakes coming from the shifting of the plate going back up to this volcano that has the big stack here. Wow. The only one I really didn't know what was at the location is up here in northwest Nevada. It's a bit close to Bittner Butte. Let's go see what's going on. Bittner Butte, something I only talk about when we're looking for a large earthquake to strike off in the ocean. So we see earthquakes strike up in northwest Nevada, usually before something big strikes out in the ocean. Where's this happening? Oh, well, Pinto Mountain Volcanic Butte. Pinto Mountain. Look at the black basalt on this thing. That's an old mesa'd out volcano. Red Mountain Butte. That doesn't even really... Well, okay, hold on. It does. You can see the tuftage on top. Okay, all right. Well, those are ancient. Those formed back when this was all underwater. Now, I mentioned Bittner Butte. Here's Blowout Mountain. Sheldon Antelope, which is the Smithsonian mark for this volcanic field. Several quaternary lava flows along the Nevada-Oregon border issued from small shield volcanoes is all they really say about it. But up here next to Bittner Butte. And Bittner Butte itself is weathered. Here it is. Here's the top of the volcano. Here's the old lava flow edge. And then you can see weathered over along the other edge of the lava flow is another spot where a fissure formed a long time ago. Anyway, wait, we got a hot spot here. Also filtered out by the computer, doesn't know what to make of it. Another hot spot next to another earthquake location. Dang. Look, we've got several going on across here, guys. And the computer doesn't know what to make of them. How about no earthquakes reported out of Oregon? That makes my job easy, but I don't buy that. I think they're just not reporting quakes out of Oregon. Meanwhile, there's shifting going on in southwest Oregon. We already looked at that on the tremor map. Let's go open the tremor map one more time. And the tremors, again, are vibrations as the plate shifts. Just got to remember that. The plate is shifting, vibrating in southwest Oregon. Meanwhile, no quakes. And out in the ocean, quakes. So it's quiet. I don't like that. When it's quiet in the middle, usually that means there's going to be an earthquake of significant size. Well, not significant size. An earthquake of greater than all the sides around it if it goes completely quiet in the middle of a point. But like I said, I don't think they're reporting earthquakes out of Oregon, so I don't think it's quiet. I just think it looks quiet because they're not reporting the quakes. Now, just to the north, up into Washington, look where we are. We're right in the middle or on the side of Mount St. Helens, 38 kilometers north-northeast of Amboy, Washington. And this doesn't mean eruption at Mount St. Helens, guys, but with the other volcanoes all getting hit, going down into California, it's a sign of unrest, a sign that the plate is shifting. And I'm not kidding, we are inside the crater of Mount St. Helens. So there we are. Inside the crater, we've got the rising new dome here. Maybe you can see that. Yeah, the rising new dome. And this blew in 1980 for you kids out there, you Zoomers. Hey, Zoomers, listen up. There was a volcano that erupted in 1980. Covered like half the United States in a little layer of ash. I remember when I was a kid, 1980, I was 4 years old. I remember barely ash on the parents' car outside. My parents being worried about it like scratching the surface of the car and washing the car. That's all I remember, but that's enough right there. And you know where I'm at. If you don't, I'm all the way over here in St. Louis, Missouri. That was a big blast. Okay, now, the rest of the earthquakes that are striking are just small. They're going up into the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and really, the plate is shifting, and that means earthquakes going down into California. They haven't hit yet. I issued the warning for the Bay Area. Warning expires pretty much right now, or already expired, so we're waiting. If it doesn't hit in the next 2 days, it's a full miss, but I'm just really skeptical. The rest of the plate is shifted all the way over to Oklahoma, with California showing nothing. Yeah, something's getting ready to happen. And it should be in the 5 range to keep it consistent with the rest of the planet. Again, the rest of the planet, all the way around Antarctica, all the way over to Europe, all the way over to South America. Why would the U.S. be exempt? I mean, at least into the 4.9 range. Well, we still haven't even seen that. So it's just taking a little bit longer than I would normally expect. I normally look for 7 days. Southern California, starting in the LA basin. Let's go over to northeast LA and just take a look and see where we are. Let's grab the biggest of the bunch here in this little stack, 1.1 to 1.2. San Dimas, California. San Dimas. Hold on. Hold on. Something strange is afoot at the Circle K. Be excellent to each other. And party on. Dudes. All right. Now, where are I know, cringe, but it's totally my generation. Don't knock it. Okay. Here we are. We're right next to San Dimas. Now, I would think the oil wells to the south I need to measure, but there may be some even closer. Usually where there's one, there's more. If you guys live around the area, I'm sure you'll be able to tell me where they are a little bit easier than me poking around while we're live. Looks like we're next to a high school. People were telling me there's an oil pump right next to Beverly Hills High School. I didn't know that. I did not know that. So I just want to measure and see how far we are from the marked wells that I know about, and then we can see if there's any others nearby from comments left and so forth over the next few days. So the earthquake epicenter is there. I always look 6 to 10 miles for oil pumping operations, and here we are. We are 11 miles, 10 to 11 miles. So we're right on the edge of what I would consider to be too far for the oil pumping operations to be related, but who knows how far back up in here they go. Oh, we are 10 miles. We're 10.8. Look at that. They can drill many miles out at an angle, down, over, at an angle. So if we have some oil wells that are going across here, which we do, or at least back down here we do, and they're going over as far east as here, then it's close enough to create a crack or a fracture that spreads over to where the current earthquake is, even though the drill point is several miles away. They're drilling at an angle. They can even drill down below all of this. It's possible. I don't know if they would disclose that. But the earthquake, if there are other drill points here nearby, somebody let me know. The closer, the better for identification purposes. Okay, that's where we start, right over here in the middle. Over to the east, let's go pull the coordinates. Fontana, California. Fontana. What's at Fontana? A lot of Californians. Got a lot of viewers out there, guys. I got family out here, too, so. We got the fam out there. Not giving away where they are. Okay, there's the epicenter. We've got Old Fields, and we've got another. Wow, you know what? Hey, that was kind of weird, actually. That we were on the edge of a high school over there, and now we're on the edge of a high school over here. That's a little odd. I wonder if there's anything else here nearby. I don't see anything. We have to go check the fault zone map when we don't have any nearby drill points. Again, if you know of any, please let me know. Sometimes they're right along the road, even nestled away into a subdivision at the back end of a subdivision. You can have an oil well. So weird. But that's the way they do it. There's a landfill across the road. I wouldn't be too... here, let's hold on. Don't be hasty. Don't be hasty, Master Hobbit. Okay, well, it is a landfill, but it might not be related there. So the only other thing we have to do now is go check the fault zone map and see what fault we reside on. We're on the north side of the San Jacinto, right where it meets up here into the San Andreas. You see the big, thick red line? And you see how it branches off and goes down across Rancho Cucamonga, and then goes all the way down south towards the border. The San Jacinto, the professionals told us 5.5, 6 years ago that it was slow slipping, that all of this west of Salton Sea was slow slipping, ETSing, episodic tremor slipping across these red lines. Now wait, we're ETSing up here, across Washington, Oregon, Vancouver Island, Northern California, the red dots. The vibrations as the plate shifts up here. But the professionals told us from Southern California, USC, that it's shifting down here. So wait, the only spot is in between is this. The spot that I just showed you, and it's the creeping section of the San Andreas going up to the volcano, over to the border, and down to the south. So doesn't that really mean that all of California really shifting, vibrating and moving, going from Southern California back up across the San Jacinto, meeting up to the Garlock, jumping back up to the drill points, going back up along the coast, diagonal line, and spreading across over, like trying to equalize itself, so to speak, going over to the California-Nevada border and spreading down the faults going to the volcanoes. Now, the only spot I didn't show you is here, right there, at the middle. Ridgecrest, California, Cozo Junction. Do I need to show it to you? Let me pull the coordinates. It's the only other spot left to look it up, and I've been gone for 7 days. There's people in addiction withdrawal. They're like, Dutch, look it up. Look it up. Come on, man. Look it up. Oh, wake up, guys. Wake up. All right. Quake spotting is what we're doing here, right? Okay. So there's our earthquake epicenter, and look what we're sandwiched in between. We have a ring or a line of volcanoes over here marked by the Smithsonian. Golden Trout Creek, Templeton Mountain, Monash Mountain, and again, they make a crescent shape or half of an oval that goes down to this, which is a bulging laccolith coming up out of the plate. A laccolith is a bulge in the plate created by intruding magma down below, but really, it's this. And this, I believe, is the remnant of an ancient caldera. It's kind of like the one just to the north. This one that I already showed you, Long Valley Caldera. But this is not marked as a caldera down here. Yet it is. Now, our earthquake epicenter is right in the valley. That's right where the place mark is. And it's on the north side of Cozo Volcanic Field with its rising lava domes. And the lava domes are like what's forming right now at La Soufriere volcano down in the Caribbean. But these are much older. There's so many of them. Look how many there are. And there's the humans who drilled in to get steam, to turn the turbines. And that's where the earthquakes go down to. So we start here next to the volcanoes. We go down to the drill points. Now wait a second. We're branching off over here to the east, over at Trona Trona, California. Tron A, I like it. I like Tron A better. If it's not called Tron A, you should call it Tron A. Put a grid on the ground, you'll be all good. There it, whoa, we got a hot spot there, filtered by the computer who doesn't know what to make of it. And I can tell you that's not, oh wow, look how many there are. It's next to the big series of hotspots in between Ryan craters and the volcanoes to the west. This is getting pretty serious with the hotspots, especially in California. It's not like anybody's burning anything. So let's recap. That's it. We've looked at all the earthquakes. Oh, wait, hold on. There's 3 earthquakes down to the south of Salton Sea. Those are the only ones I've let go and not looked up. Let's go put the coordinates in and see what's there. Inquiring minds want to know. And so do I, so let's go along and take a look. Suppose I'm... Whoa! Hold on. We got hotspots right here at the volcano. Now look what is at the volcano. As if the volcano being there wasn't enough. There. Geothermal turbines, pipelines that go out to drill points like this, and the drill points go down to get steam from the volcano. And the computer doesn't know what to do with this. It's detecting heat and steam. It's, look, oh, hey, look. They actually have a temperature on this one. 484 Kelvin. So, what, 460 degrees Fahrenheit or something? So it's not exactly lava hot. This one, the computer's filtering out. It just doesn't know what to do with. This one says it's 400-something degrees, like hot as an oven. The only 2 spots. And that's where the quake is. That's right where the quake is. Now let's go down to the south. Let's go down to Holtville and show you what's right down to the border. Something's going on. The plate is slightly shifting, and that's releasing heat. The heat release is going to show up as a hot spot. Maybe it's electrical energy. The plate shifting, friction, showing up as heat. Maybe it's shortwave being emitted some reason out of the plate or something. I don't know. All I know is the hot spots are showing up next to where the earthquakes are, and those are next to where the volcanoes are. Okay, I said I was going to show you what's here. Take a look. Holtville. More geothermal turbines. Trona, California previously. Holtville now. Geothermal turbines. And they go up here to the north and connect into these geothermal turbines. Wait, let me find them. These. And more miles of pipeline that spread out to go to drill points. They're getting that heat to make the steam. We have a hotspot down in Mexico, next to Cerro Prieto and the Mexican geothermal drill points. So you can't say it's just the United States. It's even going on down in Mexico, and it's spreading down to their volcanoes next to there. Wow. Look at what's going on. Look at Mexico. Texas, we've got ourselves a bunch of hotspots all the way across. Look at what's going on there. Looks like we're in Arizona, New Mexico. Boatload of hotspots across Arizona and New Mexico at Jordana del Muerto volcano. Jordana del Muerto. Look at that. Look at that lava flow. Dang. That's kind of cool looking. If you can make it there, look at how big the lava flow is. Okay, well, we've got something going on with the hotspots. I mean, they're out in the middle of nowhere, spread out equally across just hundreds of square miles. Going up into Colorado? Following the mountain ranges? Please. Following the Craton Edge. That's what it is. I wonder how many are on the East Coast. Let's go take a look. Dude, look at the East Coast. Following the Craton Edge, there's no doubt about it. It's the outside deformed Craton Edge going to the coastal plain. That's where the distribution of hotspots are. There are hardly any hotspots at the center of the plate. A handful. And they too are somewhat equally spaced. That is. Look at that. But, I mean, this is electrical over here on the edge of the plate. It has to be. It has to be some kind of plate releasing electrical event. I don't know what to call it. We don't have a term for it. But we know it's picking up. The number of hotspots is going through the roof. as the earthquakes are going across that same shape. The earthquakes are taking that same trajectory over the past 7 days. Let me prove that to you, and we'll just end the broadcast there. We have to watch the hot spots. When they increase, I look for seismic increase. We've seen it happen enough in the past. With the hot spots start to increase, next thing you know, earthquakes start to break out. But do you think it's any coincidence the earthquakes are doing that same path? Again, the earthquake's like a border on the edge of the craton. And then we go back to the hot spots, and the hot spots are on the deformed edge of the craton out in front of it. This is just wild. Okay, well, what does it all mean? The plates are shifting. We can go back to the start of the update, where we have an equal distribution of fives going around the whole planet. How much energy do you think it would take to displace the whole planet on a 5.0 basis in a few days' time? The only spots left to go are these open silent zones. Let's get full 7 days on there. There we go. There's our full 7 days. So we're looking for a new earthquake in California in between our current sets of quakes. Might have to adjust the area slightly south. The halfway point between our 4s and 5s puts South California in the middle. Do you see that? Okay, our open areas further to the south and to South America, same thing. We watch between our current sets of earthquakes, and we can just look at 48 hours. That'll give us a good idea of the spots to watch. So at the middle point in South America, what is that? Ecuador going into Peru? That should break with that 5 at least. And our middle point between our current sets of earthquakes going across the west coast of the United States. That halfway point between our sets of quakes. It does. It brings us into South California. But I'm not going to change it yet. I was wrong last time. I'm not going to open my mouth now on it. Watching over in the West Pacific, I will open my mouth. I'm going to tell you, watch for another 2 days. It's been 7. We issued a 7 to 10 day watch based upon the deep earthquakes. The big 8 has not hit by day 7. So in the last 3 days of this, we just watch. We don't issue warnings. We don't go around and tell everybody. We just wait and see. The warning was issued 7 days ago. If it doesn't hit, I get egg on my face. Like I've said it 1,000 times, I'd rather have egg on my face than a roof on your head, unexpectedly. I'll come back and beat myself up, try to figure out where I got it wrong if it doesn't hit. But one more time, how much energy do you think it would take to just... This is 48 hours worth of quakes right now. Let's look at 7 days. As the dizzy effect takes place, you should be able to see it. How much energy would it take to displace the whole planet from Iceland to South Sandwich to the mid-Atlantic, back up to Japan and over to Alaska, off the coast of the United States? The only thing missing is a few open areas. That's a lot of energy. So if we get off with just 5s around the whole planet, I guess that's good. But I'm not going to let my guard down yet. I don't want you either. I've been gone for 7 days, mourning the loss of my little Wednesday. She's such a little baby. Man, 22 years old. So we got a good life with her, and thank you for everybody who wrote us cards and well wishes, and Duchess and I really appreciate that. I would encourage you guys all to have an earthquake plan. I end my broadcast at the end of every broadcast this way, but I want you to at least take the time to think about what you would do if an earthquake hits. Take shelter underneath a table or a desk. Make sure it's not glass. Other than that, a table or a desk is not going to support a falling structure, so you withstand the earthquake, but you pay attention to your structure, and if you need to go outside, you need to have a pre-designated open area that's safe. You already know what's there, and you tell your friends and family, your roommates, or your coworkers even, that that's the spot to meet after the quake is over. But you're supposed to take shelter immediately underneath a table or desk. Stop, cover, and hold on. Do that. Also, an emergency kit. This is some basic stuff, guys. Come on. You're supposed to have this stuff. I'm going to harp on you for a little bit. No pun intended with the harp. But going to harp on you and just tell you, you should have done it already. Backpack or some kind of bag that has a change of clothes, a set of shoes, seasonal specific. Flashlight and batteries so you don't have to use your mobile phone. First aid kit. Well, you're supposed to already have that stuff. supposed to already have a first aid kit, but first aid, sanitation, a way to charge your mobile phone, extra identification, that's probably a good idea. Also, probably an extra set of keys. That would also probably be a good idea. Just do those basic things, put it into a bag. You'll think of better things, of course. Oh, food and water for a few days. Probably on the food, it could be lightweight, pre-packaged kind. You're not going to be eating steaks, at least I don't think you would. Be eating steak meal with potatoes or something on an earthquake night. That you would want something pre-packaged that you could easily carry with you and withstand a good beating and be able to stay a long time in your bag. All right, you guys take those steps and you'll be way better off than all the people around you who are just either too cool to prepare or they just don't know what to do. So please take that time. I have a motto. I know it's cheesy. You'll remember it, though. It's easy to remember. Don't be scared. Be prepared. It's kind of like a Boy Scout motto almost. And any Scout motto. It's just a good idea. You can apply that for anything in your life, quite frankly. Not being scared and being prepared. It's kind of like what the firefighters do or a soldier does. That they're still going into a very intense situation that's intimidating and gets your adrenaline going and can be still scary, but the scary aspect, it's the edge is taken off that, and it's replaced with vigilance. And the vigilance is something that you can deal with, and if you're prepared, again, if you're expecting something, that takes the edge off. So that's why I've got the arrows on the map here, so you can watch which way the flows take place. Watch the middle points get filled in. You know, the halfway point between these two earthquakes going by on the screen here right now in Japan. We got 4.9s on either side of Japan. Do you see that? 4.9s on either side of Japan. You have a middle open area like a fulcrum point, a balance point between the two, and there's that red line that goes between the two. If it was straight, if it was perfectly straight, we'd be getting back into the wave tank analogy. That, you know, in a perfectly straight wave tank, they get perfectly uniform and travel in a probably calculatable speed, but across the red lines of the plate boundary over across Japan, it's an uneven wave tank. But the same thing's happening. The equal distribution of quakes. Oh wait, now you see it. The equal distribution of quakes across the wave tank, equal distribution of a standing wave in the tank. Same thing's happening, but it's spreading out across a vast distance. Okie dokie. All right, checking in chat. We're watching chat. Look at that. People scrolling by on the left-hand side. That's live on Twitch. If you're watching on YouTube, I pre-record these and then put them on YouTube. So we're watching them live on Twitch. You guys are all live. But if you're on YouTube, again, I pre-record and do a premiere. I would encourage everybody to share the stream over on Twitch or share the videos if you're watching on YouTube. And please hit the like button or follow button or whatever button. Get the word out on my channel, please. I need your help. I can't afford a big marketing firm or multi-channel networks. And no, that's not working. But you guys are doing your job and getting the warnings out. I'm doing my job, at least now, back in action. So hopefully I'll be back in action every day. And we'll start doing this every day again, like we were right before shit hit the fan. Pardon my language, but that's exactly what happened in my life. Duchess and I are finally recovering day 10 of the mess, which started on Valentine's Day of all days, for Wednesday to go. Much love, everybody. I love you for real for putting up with me. You are saints. Peace out.